welcome to our Wednesday webcast. It's a great time to see you guys again. I can see you right there. You might want to cover up. I can see you're not wearing pants. I'm just kidding. So I want to start today with a rumor and end with a challenge. So today we're going to talk a little bit about a few different items as well, but some of the timeless pieces too. But the rumor that I heard is that toilet paper is coming back to stores. So you know what that means? Buy stocks. Because apparently we've reached the bottom. At any rate, came from a client, thought it was quite funny. But really, most importantly, we want to start with gratitude. Gratitude to our healthcare workers, gratitude to our clients who are doing things like making face masks for hospitals because they're great at sewing, donating their time to others. Our clients' neighbors who are ordering groceries for them so they don't have to order them, which is pretty impressive. I think the human spirit is showing up in many, many great ways here. Also to the grocery store clerks, the frontline workers, the places that have things open that we need, the Amazon workers, the delivery workers. It's really impressive to see. Some of them are working overtime, running around, doing incredible things, since now we're ordering everything online. Zoom. If you haven't done Zoom or been invited to 10 or 15 different Zoom conferences, then you probably should reach out and find that as well. But we're really thankful and grateful for a lot of that right now. Spending time with the family for myself as well has been grateful for. So I'll give you time to be able to do that at some point after the broadcast. I won't take up time for yourself on that one. But Ken, how about yourself? Are you anything you're grateful for right now?
Yeah, grateful for spending time with the family. It gives us a little more time at home right now. Things have slowed down. I mean, and you all are experiencing that as well right now. It's Holy Week right now, so it's been a great time to educate the kids on what Holy Week really is. Palm Sunday, the crucifixion tomorrow, obviously. So again, just a lot of great time to just slow down, educate ourselves, and just really find out what's more important to us right now. So
awesome. So, and my family's done the same thing. We just read the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, and then followed it up with watching a classic, the 10 Commandments. So you kind of go back to the special effects in the 1960s. It's quite funny to see. Actually pretty good, pretty impressive for what they had to do with, but it's fun to see on film what the Bible has done as well. So my daughters have really much enjoyed that. And what I'm also finding about like Ken is my daughters are really funny. I mean, like really funny. I appreciate the fact that we don't have a schedule. It's really a nice thing. So really very, very important to us as far as in our lives as well. The big question we have is, how are you? No, you can go ahead and respond now. I'm kidding. You've been telling us, what's been going on, like this week. So if we go from the past couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago, it was maybe despondency, staring at the abyss. The market had fallen 37% in 3.5 weeks. The last 2 weeks have included, though, 3 of the biggest up days in history, one of the biggest. And now you're starting to feel anything different. I mean, Ken and I were talking with a few clients, and we've started to feel, actually, people are starting to fear, oh, did I miss out on something? We've heard that in a couple scenarios. So looking at this, the emotions change, but really kind of today for us, the themes are recovery, new day, adaptability, and grit. We'll talk about some of those different ones and how they apply in here as well. We're going to send a couple of things out this week as well. One might be a poem that I wrote, just some different things we've found over time. Taking a moment to stop and reflect and look at the little things makes a big difference, I think, as we have seen it as well. One thing I want to tell you too, as you go forward, the news, the world is going to look worse. You're hearing worse and worse data. You're hearing more deaths. But you're starting to hear a little bit of hope, though, in a couple of other countries. And it's amazing. Hope springs eternal. But I do tell you that fear is always there and pervasive, willing to jump back out when you hear something that people don't expect. But remember, the market, again, is really the single biggest instrument for people to look at to gauge what's happening in their physical emotions right now. As soon as they say something's going to be horrible, 1 million people may die from this, the market prices that in at the moment that it has. So a lot of times the market looks 6 months out to its recovery, which may be what it's looking at right now as well as we go forward. I think as the world's going to look worse, what are we going to do about it? We're going to remain calm. We're going to most importantly provide hope, listen, plan, help people adapt. We're in this together, but 6 feet apart. I want to make that clear. Everybody says we're in this together. I just want to make sure we're in this together, that people understand the spacing that they should have as well. So that's just a little clarification as well. So we went over this actually on Monday as well. We had a very frank conversation with everybody. What is our plan? What has our conversations been? Are you comfortable being here? Are you not? Share our cleanliness and contact plans with each other. Should we operate from home? Who? Right now we have Ashley there, we have Kristen there, we have Julie, and you see Zach is there as well. He took himself out of the equation because he's got a great household, but he has a situation that he thinks is a bit more fluid, so he decided to take himself out of the equation, which was a wonderful, honorable thing for Zach. So we'll miss his fundamental corner this week, but we'll have Zach maybe phone in next time for his as well, or just record his as we go along. We looked at our contact plan as well. We're looking at something for you this next week called Slide Broadcast. Slide Broadcast is this. It's basically a way for us, a broadcast communications form, for us to send you a message to your phone, but you will not get it ringing. It will simply go to voicemail. So you might see it coming from mine. You might see it coming directly from Gentian. But what it is, it's just a way for us to communicate with you. And it may not be used tremendously on a constant basis. We're going to see how we use it. But what it's going to be good for in crisis situation, we want to be prepared now for, hey, listen, here's a message from us. Here's what's going on. Here's what we know. It's a way for us to communicate with a lot of you at once as well with a message just by voice versus a video as well. So anyway, we want to make sure that you know that piece is coming out as well. So with that, the things that we came out right now is we're here to serve, protect, plan, and adapt. That's what we've been doing, and that's really who we are. What's really interesting is that as you go forward, we've been talking quite a bit about this. I spent the better part of the last 3 weeks on phone calls with clients, and Ken and I have been talking about that. We talked to more people in the last week, and it's actually quite refreshing. By the end of the day, maybe you get a bit tired, but spending 3 weeks on phone calls with you, researching, confirming perspectives from history, learning, studying what's happening now, knowing all along that this is the same fear that came out in 2000, 2008, and now. Remember, that fear is pervasive. I could feel the despondency in 2000. I remember it very, very clearly. I could feel the despondency in those points in 2008 as well. And I could feel the despondency 2 weeks ago. And that's an important word, that despondency, that helplessness feeling of, oh my God, we may lose everything. I want to let you know, the biggest opportunity lies when you feel the worst. So a huge point in opportunity is when nobody wants to do anything about it. That's where the tough, the ones with grit, the Navy SEALs will do something. So very much, very, very important to go. And there's some great pieces that go along with planning that go along with that as well. A couple things that are out there. There's the Secure Act and there's the CARE Act, right? So when you look at both, there's secure and care, great words, right? But there's a lot of ramifications and a lot of confusion going on with those. So we're thinking of doing just a technical presentation coming up here that's going to talk about the Secure Act, the CARES Act, and then go through some slides showing you historical perspective. So for many of you, notice in these broadcasts, I haven't done much with slides or data that's technical because I've been told over time, and actually I've learned over time, I don't like to hide behind charts. I don't want to go, no, don't trust me, look what this chart says. This chart says something. I'd rather say, listen, let's have a relationship that's truthful, trusting, and honest. And from time to time, we'll bring some technical slides in. I think you'll like this technical piece we put together. It's been put together by one of our great friends. And he did one in 2008 as well. You've seen my former partner and I and ourselves really educating you on a lot of this back since even 2000 when Dr. Daniel Kahneman came out with the Nobel Prize in Economics for behavioral finance. But very, very interesting pieces. There's some really very interesting pieces decade by decade looking at corrections and then what to do about them. So it's a great piece of education. We'll record that you can watch at some point as well. But we thought it'd be time for us to do something technical, not just to talk about some of the touch and feeling and how we're doing now. Because to some of you, you love the numbers, and to many of the others, you like very much the feel and what we're looking at and what's most important. So another thing we're going to be sending out this week is while you've got time, we're going to be sending out the questions from Gentian Capture that Kristen uses. These questions are going to be for you to be able to ask the oldest member of your family. So what I'd like you to do in this exercise as we send these out this week, maybe tomorrow or Monday if you will, is begin to talk to the oldest member of your family to capture how they feel, how they have felt in the past, their memories that you're going to want to capture on an ongoing basis. Because here's what I would love to know. I would love to know during the Great Depression, and I have this right now, I can ask my grandfather, he's 91, how did you feel? And he said, for a farmer, it wasn't a big deal because we didn't have much anyway, but we still had the food that we produced. Really interesting to see that if you were a farmer, you really didn't feel the Great Depression the same way as they teach us in our economics. Oh, everybody's out of work. Well, you're not out of work if you're a farmer. You have your own work still. So interesting perspectives, but that's the kind of stuff we want you to get from these kind of questions that we put together. Is it a perfect list of questions? No. Is it a sufficient list of questions? Yes, and you can add your own. Please submit to us any questions you think should be on that questionnaire as well. But I want to make sure that you know these are some things we're doing and sending out to you because we know what true wealth is, and that is a very large portion of true wealth. To those who have done it, they first started out skeptical, and many of them have come in saying, this is one of the most important things I've ever done. Not easy to do, not easy questions to answer, but wildly important, I think, to your future and what I call true wealth. So as we go through, that's a couple of different things. We'll likely send out a poem or two in the next week that we've written, do a technical piece on the bear markets. I think it's an important piece to let you know what's happened in the last 10 years, technically as well. I think it's a teaching presentation I think that you'll really, really enjoy anyway. We've had some questions Ken and I talked about this week too, like questions, will I lose everything? Historically, the answer is no. But that comes out, and that's come out a couple weeks ago. Less now, but more so in the 2 weeks ago. So the answer is typically no. Should I sell now and buy back later once the dust clears? And the answer is no again, and here's the reason why. Because prices reflect instant fear. Immediately, prices reflect instant fear. Last week, there was dreadful news. You saw dreadful news, unemployment, all this in the deaths, and it was horrible news. Yet what did the market do? It was up. Matter of fact, one of the biggest updates in history, the biggest update in history, came with worse news on its heels. Happened even this week as well on Monday and Tuesday. So you're finding some incredible times. Goldman actually said that unemployment might go from 4% before this correction, before this bear market, to 15%. I mean, historically incredible numbers, right? But in the face of that, what has the market done? You've seen it go up a bit. We may lose 34% of the U.S. economy from this in this second quarter as well. What has the market done? It's moved up. And the key is if you did get out, you still have to get back in. And there have been people who sold out in the Lehman Brothers crisis, were smart enough to sell out before it happened in 2008, who are still out of the market today and have lost out on the 404% return because of how smart they were. So you got to be super careful with that as well. The other one is I'm going to wait for the retest. The market's going to retest a low. And absolutely, that is a phenomenal strategy to wait for the retest of the low unless it doesn't happen. There's no predictability for it. Sometimes it retests, sometimes it doesn't. So it's very, very difficult. And then the question that we have as well is, I think Ken gets this quite often recently, and I think he said, do I have time to wait this out? According to history, the answer is yes. We'll show you that in the technical presentation, but if you look at it, the average is about 3.9 years from peak to peak. That's peak to peak recovery. But the median, the average, is 2.9 years. And this comes from some of the data that we're going to show you, and it comes from JP Morgan and several other sources. But if you look at the last 5 of the last corrections, 5 of those 10 corrections, I should say, lasted less than 2 years from peak to peak. So some of the technical pieces we'll show you on a go-forward basis are good. And then the last question, there's more, but this is another one, is should I borrow money to invest in stocks? And the answer is no. We say no. You're just adding massive risk. We don't know what the future is going to hold. We don't know how that'll actually play out. So you don't want to add potential, injury to insult in here as well. So you don't want to add leverage to this account when we have no idea what's going to go on. Long term, we have an idea. We just don't know what the path is going to look like to get there as well. So that's some of the things that we've seen overall. What I wanted to do here is pass to Ken. Ken has some phenomenal pieces. He actually has a great, great piece that he brought to us on about 25 to 30 things that you can do to help yourself feel better during these times. And he's going to read word by word every single one of those. No, I'm just kidding. He's got some phenomenal points, but he's got some 4 or 5 things I think that are super important here in the fundamentals and planning, and how we relate.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So you mentioned the mindfulness of what we can do during this time of quarantine. So I'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about required minimum distributions again. There's some new laws with the CARE Act that came out about that. A lot of you know about that, but again, a good piece to go over to reiterate what's important, what pertains to you. We like to address our retirees and our pre-retirees right now, because this is a very emotional, anxious, fearful, weird. We've heard a lot of these different emotions that you've shared with us about the time frame we're going through if you are considering retiring right now versus if you just retired. If you've been retired for a while now, I think you have a good handle on it. But if this is one of the first corrections you've been through in retirement, it sometimes makes us feel, and it makes us second guess things once in a while. So we're going to talk about that piece. I'm going to talk about tax loss harvesting. That's the technical term for what we do inside of non-IRA, non-401k plans. We'll talk about that. And then lastly, we'll talk about rebalancing. So actually, I'm going to start with rebalancing because it's the first on my list. So rebalancing, again, the fundamentals of what that really means and why it's so important. So rebalancing means that inside of your portfolio, whether it's your 401k at work, whether it's your IRAs here, your personal accounts, whatever the case may be, whatever type of an account you can rebalance it. So if we have a target allocation of 70% stocks, 30% bonds, and that's our starting point, if you will. Well, right now, bonds and alternatives have held up nicely during this time frame. maybe positive, maybe slightly, on par with each other, maybe slightly down right now. So again, taking a portion of what is holding up and doing nicely in the portfolio by design, by the way, that's by design, and shifting it over to stocks that are 25% off. So you're automatically doing the right thing with your money at the right time. You're selling high and you're buying low. That's something we've done for you for a long time. That is the art of being a great investor. We're doing that for you internally, right? When we meet with you and talk with you, if you're still working, you have that option with your 401k plan as well. Now, some of you have automatic rebalancing with your plans. It depends if your plan offers it or not. So if your plan offers it, a lot of you set it up for semi-annual, sometimes quarterly, sometimes annual rebalancing. That's all been set up for you. If your plan doesn't have the automatic rebalancing, now is a good time to go back and look at your target allocation. If you need help with that, let us know. But whatever your target allocation is, go back to that, rebalance that. Small companies, mid-sized companies have led the way and been affected the most right now. History tells us that small and mid-caps will also bring us out of this as well. So again, shifting money to the right places at the right time is the key to all this. If you're saving money, don't stop. We all have different scenarios. Some of us need the money more than ever right now. Some of us have a little bit of wiggle room in our plans. If you're saving money, keep going. If you have some wiggle room, if you're doing 10% in your 401k right now, or if you're making Roth, if you can amp it up to 10%, to 11, to 12, and even if you do that temporarily, you're still buying low right now. You're still buying more shares. And when things recover and recoup, you'll be that much better off. So if you can continue to do that, that'd be fantastic. Like Chris mentioned, there are a wide range of emotions right now. If you're invested and stayed invested, which congratulations to all of you, I don't think we've gotten one phone call saying, hey, uninvest me or get me out of this. So congratulations to you all. You are great investors because of that. We felt a little bit of relief in the last week and a half or so. Like Chris mentioned, if you're waiting to put the money to work, you feel like you potentially missed out. So we're feeling a wide range of emotions, and that kind of leads me into the retirees that we work with quite frequently. So if you're recently retired, you're feeling anxious right now. You're feeling possibly second guessing your decision to retire at the time you did. No one saw this coming, of course. But when you take a look back and we look at the sequence of returns, we look at retirees that we've helped back in the 2000s. We looked at the retirees that we've helped in 2007, 2008 during that financial crisis. We're looking at the retirees we're helping right now retire in late 2019, early 2020. There's a wide range of emotions that have gone through that. If you ask any of our clients and you come to some of our forums, those clients that we've retired back in 2020 through a tough market. 2000 through a tough market. Those 3 next years were tough. They're better off today than they were before. Those clients that have retired in 2007, 2008, they're better off today than where they were before. But it's a very trying time to go through. But by design, how we structure your portfolio is having the different buckets in there for these times right now. We have 68 years of income ready to go for you during these times, so we don't have to sell our stocks low to generate income. That's all by design that we're doing there. So we're here for you. We know that you're feeling a wide range of emotions right now. Again, we'll walk you through that. We're here for you. We know how this works. We understand it very well. We understand sequence of returns when the markets are good, when the markets are not so good. We understand all that. We'll help you through that, and the portfolio is designed to help you to get through that as well. One of the last pieces here, tax loss harvesting. What does that mean? You might have heard that before. This is for accounts that are non-IRA based. These are not your 401ks. These are not Roth IRAs. These are not IRAs. These are what we call personal accounts or trust accounts that some of you have. And what that really means is, you've heard the phrase, you haven't lost anything until you sold it, right? And that holds very, very true. And so that's why in your IRAs, we might be rebalancing, which we're actually adding to stocks right now. Mm-hmm. But in your personal accounts, we can be proactive. And a lot of you have heard from us on this. And what that really means is that if we have a temporary loss like right now that we're going through right now, we can be proactive, and we have been. And we'll go into, let's say, Fund A. Let's just call it Fund A. And if that fund is showing a loss of $1,000 right now, we can actually sell that fund, realize the loss so that can help you on your taxes. You can write some of that off on your taxes when you do that. And then simultaneously what we do is we buy Fund B in that category. So you stay invested. It's just with a very, very similar investment that replaced that one. So when the recapture happens and the recouping of this happens, you're invested in that in Fund B, and you'll see the earnings and the gains back in that fund. But we're able to be proactive and actually take some of those losses in your personal accounts, which will help you in the long run. So the one thing we heard were not necessarily what we're doing or other clients are doing, but we've heard some investors talk about selling something like that, selling a loss, a position, and then leaving it in cash. That is a mistake, most likely, because Chris just mentioned it. In the last week and a half or so, we've seen 2 fantastic days. One was up almost 8%. If you're in cash and you're waiting to get back in, because you have to wait 30 days to get back into that same position, it's called a wash sale. You see these days that happen, and you're potentially missing out. So again, we keep you invested. So we never sell something and leave you in cash. We always stay invested in a different fund in that position. So the other part, the RMDs, I'll talk about that quickly here, is the RMDs, required minimum distributions. So we got some questions on that. Those are for clients that are over, well, now 72 because of the Secure Act, but because of the CARE Act, it's actually changed a little bit. Required minimum distributions. If you needed to take one this year, it's waived for 2020. It's waived. You don't need to take your distribution if you don't want to. Of course, if you still like to, it's there for you. If you've already taken it, there's a 60-day rollover rule. It means if you take it in the last 60 days and you haven't done one of these transactions in the last calendar year, you can actually put the money back. Now, I want to bring something to your attention that this happened in 2009. When that was the financial crisis we went through. Well, Congress came out and said, you know what, you do have the 60-day rollover option, but if you didn't meet that requirement, let's say you took your distribution in January, well, we're past that 60 days. October of 2009, Congress came out and said, hey, by the way, if you took your distribution in January and you missed that 60-day rollover rule, that window, if you will, you're able to put the money back. That didn't come out till October of that year. So again, we'll keep you posted as things change and things update. We'll definitely keep you posted if that happens. I know a couple of you have taken out the distribution in January because it made sense. The markets were good. We potentially needed the money at that point in time. But now that things have changed and the rules have changed, we'll go back and take a look at that for you as well. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. For an inherited IRA, you don't need to take out the distributions, whether it's a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. If you've already taken out, there is no 60-day window on an inherited IRA, so that piece is what it is. Calculations will be going for 2021. They're not going to go back and skip 2020, and the calculations will continue on like it happened, but it didn't happen, if that makes sense. The 10-year rule for inherited IRAs, because of the Secure Act that changed in December of last year, that's still a 10-year payout for the IRAs. That hasn't changed at all. Mm-hmm. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the mental health piece. A client of mine that I talked to the other day sent this over, so I appreciate that. This comes from a psychologist. I shared it within the team. They appreciated it. They gave me some good feedback on it. Again, I'm going to keep it very, very high level right now. We'll send this out as an attachment to the program today, even on our website. But it talks about mental health wellness tips for quarantine. You may be feeling some of this, but again, stick to a routine. Number one, stick to a routine. Dress for the social life you want. Waking up in your underwear and pajamas every day can kind of get us down. If we don't shower and we put our clothes on and get back to somewhat of our daily routine, we feel differently when we do that versus not doing that. Get out at least once a day. The weather's been nice. Bike rides, walking, just getting out for slow jogs. A client I just talked to not too long ago said if we don't do this and we don't eat well and we don't exercise, we could actually gain the quarantine 15. Kind of like the college situation there. But again, stay active. Teach your kids. Spend time with your kids. Spend time with your grandkids. They need structure. They need you more than ever right now. They'll never tell you what they're feeling most likely, but they do that through play. They do it through other avenues as well. So again, just a few pieces. There's 25 of them here, but we'll send those out as a resource for you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Ken. Thank you very much. So one of the things Ken mentioned on health. So for instance, thank you all so much for being concerned with our health. So a couple of things we've been doing with the team is just on 1 or 2 days leaving at 3:30, because the team's been putting absolute overtime hours, just gargantuan hours in, and really heightened times. Yesterday, took a bike ride for some. We had skeleton crew on 2 different times. So we're from time to time allowing ourselves to have a bit of time off from that as well, which is good because it increases our vigor when we come back here, and very much enjoy working and calling with you as well. A very, very important piece, I think, as you'd mentioned as well. Some of the things I want to do as well is give you a little bit when it comes to probably perspective now. A lot of people are talking about fleeing. What I've noticed over time, if it comes back to this, is a lot of my friends are talking about getting out of international, getting out of emerging markets because they think that the U.S. has a better chance of recovery. I've learned over time historically that when my smart friends start talking about that, or smart people do, it typically ends up working in the opposite direction. So we're not leaving emerging markets, we're not leaving international. Sure, they may get beat up a bit more, but when you find it historically, those also may have that chance to recover more as well. So we found it very smart not to leave asset classes. I know that's kind of been a question some people have asked about us as well. One thing I've been doing quite a bit of here, I just want to give you an idea, is I've been working on a master class with Billy Collins. Some of you may know who he is. He's actually the poet laureate for America. He's one of the top poets in the world. But it's a master class with him. It was really interesting. So I love to do some poetic things. Sometimes I've done a lot of writing over my life, and I enjoy that piece. I may share a few with you. But really what's interesting is sometimes I sit and think. Other times I sit. Why is that important? Because the second of those might be the thing that's most important for you to do during this market correction. Don't feel silly because you've sat through this. Because oftentimes the most fulfilling thing in the world is to sit and not think. That's where we go. And I've said this. This is a very interesting part about life. The external world is very uncontrollable. Matter of fact, let me do this. We've had more inundation with more webinars and seminars and great information and more lists and all this stuff. So we have to be very judicious about what we share, what we see, and even what we read. But what's interesting is yesterday, Zach was on a call with a Navy SEAL who's been now in our business for a very long time. And what's interesting is that this person had been over 200 combat operations. And these are life and death operations. These are combat operations. Let me tell you, none of them went according to plan. None. So the key with them, what's been most important? Adaptability. And it's the same with you. We want to congratulate many of you who've reduced your payments, reduced what we pay to you because it's been rough times, right? These are very, very important things that you guys have done. And you guys have had the discipline in some cases just to do them on your own. But I looked back and say my spending in the last month is 40% less or 50% less than normal, and I'm great with it. I'm okay with that. I don't miss the things that I'm not spending on right now. Now, some of you go vacations and others, so I know that's not the case. But very interesting when you start to look at what you see from the planning and the missions of a Navy SEAL and how much it pertains to what it is we do as well, and how they say nothing goes as planned. You have a plan for it, and then you adapt. That's extremely important. I think one of the things that we see is, this is a statement I heard as well. This is from the book, The Second Mountain, but mountaintops encourage you, valleys mature you. Make sure you get a chance to reflect on some of those pieces as well. Again, you have no control over the outer world in many cases. What happens, happens. You have full control of the inner world. That's mindfulness, your own conversations, what you put into your head as well. So make sure you're smart about those as well. One very, very interesting thing we've seen as well is the highest level of insider buying since 2009 March is occurring last month. Why is that important? March of 2009, if you remember, happened to be the bottom of the last great bear market we had. If you look at that now, I can't tell you that that's the exact sign, but there's more people who understand the opportunities in their company who are inside of it than often outside. And when they're buying heavily, they're putting their own money where their mouth is. So it may be a decent sign that this may be a recovery that we've got some legs on, but also could be a head fake at some point as well. It could be a downtrend. So we're preparing really for both. But I wanted to say that as well. The second thing is the highest level between growth and value. Growth and value tend to be pretty similar. You've seen it before. But right now, these paths have diverged tremendously. So I like to say it this way. Growth and value diverged in a wood. We choose both. What we choose right now, though, is to do rebalancing. Value is a historically low value. growth is a historically high value in comparison, as far as compared to the S&P, they will come back together. We own both because you never know when that's going to happen. In the bigger picture, I talked to a Nobel Prize winner who said, how long could value be out of favor? He said, I don't know, 25 years? I said, you're kidding me. He goes, well, it'll probably be less than that, but it's been about 12 to 15 now. Very interesting to watch as we go through. One thing a couple people noticed as well is this pandemic might accelerate wealth transfer. What does that mean? Have your loved ones and yourself just put together a directive of things they want. Maybe they want at their funeral, everything. These aren't fun things to talk about, but these are wildly beneficial to those who are left behind if something does hit and happens. So take an extra time now while you've got it to maybe put some of these items together. Write out an ethical will, which is all the things you believed in, the things you want at a funeral. One of our clients, for instance, their funeral was wonderful. It was a aloha party. It was actually everybody came dressed in Hawaiian shirts because they love that. So it was a wonderful party. It was completely different. A couple of things I think that we see as well. We come up with a word of the week. The word of the week for us this year has been grit, or for this week has been grit. We like to define those words. So grit is a small, loose particle of stone or sand. I'm kidding. The way we view grit is courage and resolve, strength and character. So for us this week, and this correction has been about grit, both for you, for us, and those around us. So we want to continue with that. We want to continue to offer that with you as well. But I want to do one thing as well. This is something that was written really for you, and I want to say that, just tell you what it is. Love, gratitude, and appreciation for all of you, who you are, what you do, and we are humbled by the awesome teaming of us. We forgive you for your shortcomings as we hope you forgive ours. We celebrate your growth and your milestones, those now and those to come. We weep and share your sorrow. Most of all, we are honored to share your life. We love each and every one of you in a unique way, and here is to the history yet to be written between us. Love and gratitude, Chris and the team. That's how we feel. That's how I'd like to express that to you. And I did say I'd offer you a challenge. This week, your challenge is look around for the good. It's extremely important. And for some of you, this will be very difficult. Look around for the good that's occurring. Look around for what's happening in that case. The food banks, for instance, in San Diego and Nebraska were just on a television program, and they said that normally they spend $67,000 per month on food to buy because people donate it. Their bill last month was $670,000 and $1.2 million. They're fighting over with grocery stores to get the supplies because grocery stores are outbidding them in some cases. These are for the homeless food pantries, and they say they're getting 2 times the number of people coming in as food they're getting donated. So look at those. Look for what the good is out there. Look for what people are doing. Look for my client who's making face masks. Look for your friends who are doing incredible things out there. These healthcare workers, the volunteerism, they're happening in your neighborhood. They're happening everywhere. What I want to do is challenge you to look for those. For those who are really aggressive, look for those. Express them to someone. Express them to us. Tell somebody how much you appreciate them. This is a time about being more human than ever. Reflection. It's a time about the valley and maturing us. And also figuring out, most importantly, what's our true wealth? What's most important to us? So we may be in a valley here in the market. Don't let it be a valley of your life unless you're using it to learn and mature. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for that. With us here at Gentian Financial and our team, as much as we can help you, we will. But I want to say thank you very much for your time, especially this half hour today that you've given us. And for some of you, the 1 or 2 hours that you do when you watch the program 2 or 3 times, which absolutely amazes me. But some of you enjoy doing that. Thank you very much. Hopefully these are extremely helpful in forms. If you find them helpful, great. Look forward to this next teaching we're going to do, which is more technical. We may record it and give it to you, but we may also do it on a Zoomcast so that we can actually send it in different forms. But please give us your feedback. Your feedback is wonderful and encouraging. We appreciate it. We appreciate the questions. Keep that coming as well. We want to know what to provide to you, and we'll continue to reach out over the next few weeks as well. Thank you again.
Thank you.